Hi, welcome to the Get Ready with God podcast. My name is Julie Taylor, and I am your host, and I am not God, obviously, and I am not an expert. I'm not even a scriptorian. I'm literally just a girl sitting in front of a microphone, hoping God is real. The Get Ready with God podcast is the daily devotional podcast to help you see divinity in every day. Did you know that I record that every single episode? You did know if you've listened to this podcast more than once. But whenever I do it a little bit weird or fast or strange or sing-songy like that, I always think about if this was someone's first time listening to this podcast, they'd probably be like, wow. Sometimes they do it better than others, but I like saying it every time. I like the ritual of that. And it also sounds easier to say it every time than it does to attach a file to every episode of it pre-recorded. So we'll keep singing it. We'll keep saying it. We'll keep living. Okay. I hope you say it with me. Do you guys know it by now? Should we do a Get Ready with God pod concert? And I can hold the mic out to the audience and you all say, the daily devotion, hoping God is real. Yeah. That'd be fun. That'd be fun. Not quite at that level yet, but let's manifest it. Okay. Something I've been thinking about a lot lately is, are we holding people to a higher standard than God is holding them to? And I know this might sound a little crazy, but I was in church and people were talking about God giving them grace. Like, we don't have to be perfect and our effort is enough and we can't do everything all the time, and there's going to be seasons in which we can do more than others. And I believe that God knows us and understands what our capacity is, and I think that we should have grace and compassion in how we show up because we are human. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to do things wrong, and we can't be everything for everyone. And then I just felt like we're saying all of this about how God feels about us, but I have had a lot of experience in life, but also in religious communities where I don't feel like we're giving each other that grace. And it just made me wonder if sometimes, especially in our culture right now, cancel culture is prevalent, and there's, like anything, good and bad to that. People are being held more accountable as they should be. People are, I think, working to be more open-minded and to be more thoughtful and intentional in what they say, but it's also led to a lot of performative action, a lot of hate, a lot of problems. And I just wondered, there's a balance there, right? And where are we at in that pendulum swing? Because if grace is given by God, and if God is compassionate, and if God forgives, and we're saying that we want all of these things from God, I think we also have to give it to each other. I just was thinking about my own life, and I feel most often, and part of this is a personal problem where I have a deep, deep fear of disappointing people, and I feel like I'm disappointing everyone all the time, and I feel like everybody hates me. I'm working through it. But I actually don't often feel like I'm disappointing God. I feel like God is happy with my effort. I feel honest. I feel like God knows me and sees me and understands when my capacity shifts due to different things. It's most often that I feel like I'm disappointing people. I feel like I'm not serving enough. I'm not serving the right way. I feel like I'm just not good enough. I'm not doing enough. And again, those are things that I can work through on a personal level. But I also think that sometimes we hold each other to a higher standard than God is holding us to. And that's really not fair. And so if we want grace, compassion, and forgiveness from God, and if we want grace, compassion, and forgiveness from each other, we also have to be willing to offer it. And so I guess this is a long-winded way of saying, can we give each other the benefit of the doubt? Can we assume the best in people? Can we try to understand where people are coming from rather than jumping to they're wrong, they're terrible, they're not doing enough? Can we say maybe they have a lot going on? Maybe we don't know everything? Through my church work and my platform on the internet, I hear from a lot of women every week. I feel like I have more connection and conversation with a pretty diverse group of women than the average person. And so I hear a lot about what people are dealing with and what people are going through. And I can't stress enough that nobody's okay. And I can't stress enough that everyone has something going on. And while I don't think that gives you permission to cause harm to yourself or others or to be terrible, I'm not trying to just dismiss and say it's fine. A person's a jerk because they're going through a lot. We still, even in the worst of times, have to do our best to be excellent to each other. I think we've all been in times of our lives and situations where we weren't able to be our best selves. And maybe we've reacted or responded in a way that is not great. And maybe we've dropped the ball, and maybe we haven't been able to reach out and show up. And never has that been from a place of, I hate people, I don't care about people, I only care about myself, and I don't want to do anything for anyone. That's not it. And so let's not assume that of people, and let's just try to give each other a little bit more grace and compassion. I have tried to practice this, having more compassion, because I think that most people are doing the very best they can. And the hard reality is sometimes best isn't enough. And for like me personally, like sometimes my best actually isn't enough, but it has to be because it's the best I can do, right? But I had this experience where someone I was working with was really awful. And just consistently, he would not do what he was supposed to do. He would drop the ball. This is not at my current job, by the way. And it just was really frustrating. And I was really frustrated with how he was showing up. And so when I had the conversation with him, instead of coming in and saying, which this is an example where I think I did the right thing. There's plenty of examples where I've done the wrong thing, but this is my podcast, so I'm going to tell you the time that I did well, okay? But I've learned to do it this way because of how many times I've done it the wrong way and how many times I've just jumped to the worst about someone, how many times I've just jumped to harsh judgment. And I tried to do it a little differently this time because I wanted to believe that he was a good man and I wanted to believe that he was trying. And so instead of coming in and saying, hey, you're not doing this and this and this, and what is your problem, and why are you responding this way, and why aren't you doing this? Because I felt all those feelings. I was like really frustrated. I just came in and said, I've noticed that X, Y, and Z haven't been happening. I've noticed that your communication is this way. Can you help me understand why? And I just think that approaching situations with, can you help me understand why? Not in a condescending way, but actually genuinely being curious. Because if we believe that people do the best that they can, then if they're not doing great, that there's usually a reason there. And I see this in my kids all the time. Let's develop a genuine concern and curiosity about people and for people so that we can say, yes, this behavior is bad, but let's find out why it's happening. And let's try to get you to a place where you can show up the way that I know you want to. Because if you've been in a place where you're not able to show up as your best self, it's pretty terrible as the person. They're not feeling great either. So let's not add criticism and judgment. And then there have been times, I'm going to be very honest, there have been times when some people just suck. Okay. So let's be clear, that also happens. But let's get curious and compassionate first, because most of the time, people don't just suck. Most of the time, there's a reason. And in this situation, there was a health thing I wasn't aware of, and it was really serious, and we were able to work through it and figure out a solution, and there was a reason that he was showing up so poorly. So this is just a cheesy devotional today of, can we give each other a little bit more grace, a little bit more compassion, a little bit more understanding, and can we be a little bit slower to assume the worst in someone? I'm not saying anything new, but I had never thought about it through that lens before that I did last week of, are we holding each other to a higher standard than God is holding us to? Let's remember the grace and compassion and love that God has for people and try to replicate that in our own relationships. Love you. Bye.